Remember when families could afford going to Disney parks and when Disney over-delivered? It was called the Disney difference. But now, taking your child to see the castle is quite the hassle, and it could just drain your bank account. A new report says that families in the middle class are often going into major debt to afford seeing Mickey. Hello folks, welcome back to the Pro Channel. We are here to keep you ahead of that culture curve, and we do so by explaining entertainment. Today we'll be discussing just how disgusting the costs are for Disney parks. Folks, if you're new to the channel, consider clicking that subscribe button, and we always appreciate a like. Let's dive in right now. Out of the New York Times, families are going into debt for Disney vacations. Some families are spending more than they can afford on Disney vacations. They say it's because they know their children won't stay young forever. In other words, Disney is making a lot of money off of families fearing the FOMO. Or, well, that's redundant. Anyway, Jessica Fu is the author here. Alyssa Leach and her husband have visited Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida every year since 2015. To them, the theme park feels like an oasis where they can escape the stress of everyday life. So when their son, Lincoln, was born in 2020, Miss Leach wanted his first visit to the park to be special and spared no expense in planning it. She booked a 2-week trip to visit Florida in December 2022, which included stays at Disney World and Universal Studios. I also feel, folks, that a lot of this probably had to do with the pandemic. I think a lot of people after the pandemic said, well, we're going to enjoy being together and being out and about as best we can. And whatever the cost is, well, we'll pay it. And oh, by the way, we had those handy dandy checks that came in from the government too, right? All right, now stick with me, folks, because I'm going to tell you what I think about how much all of this is costing and whether or not it's realistic. We'll get to it in just a moment. The cost quickly accumulated. Miss Leach and her family traveled from New Haven, Connecticut, and paid extra for admission to Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party, an after-hours event that cost about $200 per person. She also shelled out $100 for the theme park's photo service so she could download photos of the family that photographers took during their visit. I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I really don't think you should do that. I think you should take your own pictures with your own phone. The quality of most of your phones that resides in your pocket, the cameras that you have there, is leaps and bounds above what people have had, up to 3 years ago. You can basically take 4K at movie quality. You'll be fine. You don't need Disney to let you download their cute little pictures. Disney won't like it that I said that, but just saying. The vacation cost around $6,000, which included accommodations, tickets, and a car rental, and which Miss Leach charged to her Disney-branded credit card. Miss Leach is one of many parents who have taken on debt for a Disney family vacation. In June, LendingTree, a financial firm, published the results of a survey of over 2,000 people that found that 45% of parents with children under 18 who have gone to Disney went into debt for the trip. This is amazing. Let's say this again. 45% of families with kids who went to Disney did so using debt. In other words, they did not have the money for the trip. They had to take out money from a bank and then pay it back over time with interest. Folks, can I tell you that I just don't think that's a wise way of going to visit Disney. And maybe there's an excuse to be made if it's a one-time trip and you can't afford it and you want to go. And, this is the one chance you've got, and you'll take on a little debt to handle it. I can't tell you how to run your finances. I can't tell you what to do with your bank account, but I can simply tell you that there are ways around this, and we'll talk about it towards the end of the video. I'm going to explain some ways to get your cost down at Disney. For a family of 4, the cost of a 1-week trip to Disney can range from $6,500, essentially, to $15,500, essentially, not including flights or souvenirs. Again, not including flights or souvenirs. Now, I also assume that means not including fuel costs if you're going to be traveling via automobile, according to an analysis by NerdWallet, a personal finance site. Now, $6,500 and $15,500, that is the price of a vehicle for families. And some, there aren't many families out there who have the disposable income of $15,500 for a vacay to Disney every year. And the problem is that Disney World once upon a time was a place that you could go year after year after year. And they really have designed it so that it's not that anymore. And that's why I think we're seeing that what they call moderated demand, which is a fancy way of saying our attendance sucks because these prices suck. They've gotten far out of hand. And folks, here's what I can tell you. in regards to whether or not you should make a Disney World trip, or Disneyland for that matter. What you should do is you should sit down and you should think about, how much am I paying per person, per day, to be at this place? And then you should think about, what is it that I'm receiving out of this? And if you're not receiving an adequate experience out of that kind of money, then go do something else. You can go to the beach for free in most places, in many places, and you can make memories there. You can go camping and you can make memories that way. You can go to theme parks where it is far, far cheaper. Places like Dollywood, places like Cedar Park, for example. You can go to these places and have a good time. You can go to Hershey Park. You can go to Knott's Berry Farm. They're much cheaper, and you can still make those same memories. And many of these parks are at least in the same realm as Disney. Dollywood, for example, has won the best theme park in North America multiple years in a row. So you might even have a better time there than you would at Disney, and you'll pay far, far less. Now, I'm not telling you to boycott or stay away from the Disney parks. I'm simply telling you that if you go to Disney and you add up per day, per person, what you're paying, and you say, I don't feel like I'm having $300 to $400 of fun today per person, then maybe you shouldn't be doing the trip. And if you then say, well, I took this out in debt, and so I'm going to be paying back on this at 8% over the next however many years, well, add that to the list too and say, maybe this isn't as much fun as I had thought it was. See, there's a particular cultural thing here that's happening with Disney where people feel like they have to go to Disney, and people feel like they have to have the experience of Disney. And people feel like if they don't go to Disney, then they're somehow missing out, or they're not part of the socioeconomic status of their friends, their neighbors. They feel badly that their kid isn't walking up Main Street and seeing the castle. And I get all of that. But at the same time, there's an amount of money that you just simply cannot cross that threshold and justify it any longer. You can go to these other places and have wonderful times and take photos and make memories. It's it's less of a burden on you. And just imagine how much sweeter is your vacation when you don't have to worry about how much money you're going to be paying back over the next 3, 4, 5, even 7 years. Good Lord. But Miss Leach, 38, who works in sales, relies on quarterly bonuses to cover vacation costs. She and her husband, by the way, that's also a really bad idea. Reminds me of the Clark Griswold buying the pool, right? And instead he gets the Jelly of the Month Club. I hope Miss Leach doesn't have a Jelly of the Month Club situation. Her family doesn't always have the money to pay for vacations up front. Instead, she books first and pays off her balance as the bonuses come in. This is a horrendously bad idea. Please don't do this, people. I'm not your financial advisor. Please don't do this. This is not a good idea. When you go on vacation, spend what you have and do it in a reasonable amount. And don't fall into some sort of quasi-cult of Disney love. You can go to Dollywood. You can even go to Six Flags. You can definitely go to the beach. You can definitely go to a campground near you. You don't have to spend these exorbitant amounts of money that you don't have and put yourself at risk because you feel like you have to go meet Mickey and your kids have to meet Mickey. They're going to be okay. And I cover Disney. I go to Disney a lot because I have to review the thing. I'm telling you, you don't have to do this. And by the way, the last time, which was in July, that I was in the park significantly, it was miserable. And I'm not saying that to be mean to Disney. I'm telling you that because, they didn't treat me well and they didn't treat the other guests well, in my estimation, for the money that was spent. I was in the Magic Kingdom, and the mobile ordering ceased working. So you could not use the restaurants without like a 30 to 35 minute wait of going up to the counter traditionally, because they penalize you for doing so. And all the restaurants closed 2 hours before the park closed, or at least most of them did, which meant that your options were very limited. And they began to slow down transportation, including the monorails, before the park closed, which meant that it was difficult to get out. So hungry, can't order, can't find restaurants, and can't leave. That's not a good time. And that's definitely not fun when you've spent $300 to $400 per day. For the trip in 2022, Miss Leach paid the minimum on her credit card for 2 months, accruing around $382 in interest before she was able to pay off the balance. So that's an extra $400 penalty. Disney stories and the characters who populate them are deeply embedded in American pop culture, and many families consider a trip to Disney theme parks to be a rite of passage. As I said, if you want to go once or twice, that's fine. And if you love Disney and want to go more, that's fine too. But we got to get this price down for you. Spending huge amounts of money beyond your capacity is a terrible idea. The Magic Kingdom theme park at Disney World is the biggest amusement park in the world by attendance, drawing over 17.1 million visitors in 2022. according to a report by AECOM, an infrastructure consulting firm. By the way, there are numbers out for 2023, and I'm not sure I fully agree with them. We'll leave that for another video for another day. Second biggest is Disneyland with 16.8 million. Miss Leach said she has no regrets about taking her 18-month-old son on his first Disney trip. I'll make more money, she said, but he'll never be that young again. Today, the family lives in Tampa, Florida, and each member has a Disney World annual pass. Disney does carry a level of nostalgia for people, said Rachel Cruz, who hosts a personal finance podcast and wrote a personal finance book with her father, Dave Ramsey, geared towards parents. It's a lot of people's childhoods. When you can go to one singular place and have so many of those memories and those characters come to life, it does bring a level of joy. However, Ms. Cruz said the pressure to visit Disney theme parks and to go all out for what may be a once-in-a-lifetime trip can lead families to spend beyond their means. Often, visitors contend with sticker shock when they arrive at the park. For Johnny Feller of Helena, Alabama, Disney was a central part of his childhood. When he became a parent, he wanted his daughter to experience the same love for theme parks and its characters. Feller, 41, who works in public relations and marketing, prides himself on nailing his budgets. So when he took his wife and their daughter, then four, to Disney World in February of 2022, he was shocked to find himself in debt after the trip. Again, folks, don't go in debt for these things. You don't even need to come close to going into debt for these things. I'm not saying this as some sort of elitist. I'm just telling you, if your money is going to Disney, then you are sacrificing your long-term family enjoyment of life and your quality of life for 3 or 4 days, and Disney is shoveling out your prosperity from your wallet, and they're hoarding it while you will be living in squalor. That's 3 or 4 days out of the year is not worth squalor. Anyway, Disney's never been a cheap vacation, he said. That's been true since probably when Walt opened the park in the 1950s. No, it's actually not. He had budgeted about $6,000 for the trip, but overspent by $2,500. Now, how are people overspending? Well, folks, it's that devious thing that we've discussed in the past, which is that the amount of money that it costs to buy a ticket is really not the price that it's going to cost you to be in Disney, because they're going to hit you with those lightning lane charges, the Genie Plus stuff, right? They're going to hit you with all kinds of charges like the photo pass if you're willing to pay it, because you don't pay attention to what all they're doing and the little value you receive. Remember what we've said. If you're not staying in a Disney hotel and you pay for Genie Plus now, well, it appears to us you don't get much value at all, because you don't get to pick the best rides because the Disney resort guests picked them about a week ago. It's a problem. So let's talk about how you get the price of Disney down. Let's say that you want to go to Disney World even still today, and you're willing to pay, but you don't want to go in to debt, which, by the way, as I've said in this video, would be crazy to do so. Don't do it. How can you get your prices down? Well, the first thing is, folks, if you have a family member who is a military member or a veteran, you want them to purchase those tickets because they will receive a significantly less expensive version of the Disney ticket, and it's just the same. It's a military pass, and you want them to purchase it through Shades of Green. Now, that's one way to get that ticket price way, way down. Another way, as we've said in the past, try to schedule to eat at a buffet once a day and cut out the other meal. You will find that the buffets currently in 2024 are often a better value than eating at a regular restaurant. If you can cut out one meal and go to the buffet at the same time, then you're having a good time. You can also pack your own waters, drinks, foods, and all of that sort of thing in a stroller or in a bag. Just make sure that it's well labeled so that when security checks it, you'll be able to go through without a problem. You can also, I think, find a heck of a value in doing not just the Park Hopper, but the Park Hopper Plus pass if you have the money. That will add on the water parks. Usually that means you're adding Typhoon Lagoon, but you also get mini golf and some other things. Those extra days that you're getting, if you average them in, you can get your cost of being at Disney down significantly. And going to the water parks and to the mini golf and all of those sorts of things is, well, it's really fun. And it's way less expensive than being in the theme parks every single day. You might also find that you are refreshed by doing so. I would also say that unless the parks are extremely crowded, don't pay for Genie Plus and try not to pay for Lightning Lane. Also, things like PhotoPass and all of those extras, they're superfluous. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you can just take pictures with your phone and generally, they'll look absolutely every bit as good as the pictures that Disney would take themselves. Finally, one other idea. Say no to some of these upcharges that are insane, like Oga's Cantina, for example, where you're paying huge, huge amounts of money for drinks that you could have for maybe a fifth of the price, you're really paying for the experience, but sometimes that experience simply isn't worth it. Ask yourself, am I receiving $50, $60, $100 of fun in the next 30 minutes? And if you're not, then, well, walk away from it. It's okay. You're at Disney. Make sure that you have a good time and you're relaxing. And folks, the best thing that I can recommend, go when it's not crowded. And that's right now, August, September, mid to late January. Those are the times that you want to be at Disney so that you can have a good time and not pay these ridiculous amounts for skipping lines. When there are no lines, you don't have to skip them all the time. You'll also have a great time because those ticket prices will be down. Folks, one more time, please don't go into debt going to Disney. It is not worth it. Do not forfeit your family's financial prosperity down the road for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of not really opulence, but just status of being in a Disney park. Especially if you're going to go down there and sweat and be miserable and your kids are crying in the stroller. Don't do that. Schedule a vacation when it's empty and do so within your means. That would mean a lot for getting your family into a better place in the future. And don't forget too, we really do recommend places like Dollywood, Universal Studios, going to the beach, going to the national parks. They're wonderful experiences. Silver Dollar City, by the way, people always tell us to say that. Knott's Berry Farm. Oh, we could go on and on. Hershey. Anyway, we'll stop there. Folks, we hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I gave you some successful tips to get those prices down. And please remember, don't go in debt for Disney. They won't go in debt for you. Folks, if you enjoyed this video, click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. Tell us, how much did your last Disney vacay cost? Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
You'd better hang on to your feathers, little bird. They need to put you in the show.
What? Jose, what are you listening to? You don't even have ears.
Vacation Radio 24/7. Original music on YouTube.
Huh?
Vacation Radio. WDW Pro Music Channel.
I have no idea what you're saying. But if you want to be listening to music, you should head over to Vacation Radio 24/7 on YouTube. One of the 100 other channels WDW Pro's been working on. Oh, and I have a song for you, Jose. Jose Cowabunga. He is Jose Cowabunga.
He's Jose.
That one seems a little bit foreign to you.